My clock says 7, so we will get started right on time. Welcome. It is the December 2024 board meeting, and we are so pleased to have parents, teachers, community members, guest speakers, and our beloved students here tonight. Thank you for your engagement and for being here. All board members are present, and we will get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you're able, please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So our next item on our agenda is the Washington, Saratoga, Warren, Hamilton, Essex, BOCES presentation. So welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to take a second, Katie,
Yes,
just
thank
to
you.
welcome our friends from WSWHE BOCES. So we're so pleased to have Tony Muller, the Senior Executive Officer, Tim Hilker is present as well, the Assistant Superintendent for Administrative Services, Jared Davis, Director of CTE. We have two board members as well, David Petruska and Lynn King. We have lots of wonderful students, Lake George students that are participating in a variety of different pathways that we're going to hear more about tonight. So we're so pleased to have them, our friends and our partners from our local BOCES, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Muller.
Great, and thank you. You just saved my introductions of the team, so that's great. So thank you for having us come back again this year. And we were supposed to be on a board visit last night in Fort Edward, and the snow kind of kept us from that. And it's the same week that happened to us last year for your board visit in December. So we had to postpone it to the springtime, but we're happy to be here tonight. We're going to start with your favorite part, your students, who are our students. And then once the students are done, I'm going to share a little bit about a vision that we have for future focused facilities for the BOCES. So I'm going to have Jared Davis come up and bring the students up. I just got my. Yeah.
So sounds good. We go here.
I just want to block the camera. All right. Good evening. As Tony said, I'm Jared Davis. I'm the Director of Career and Technical Education. And in case any of you are thinking that you have the best job in the world, you're wrong, because I do. I get to see high school students doing things every single day that gives me a lot of hope for our workforce and our workforce development over the next several years. So I'm going to ask each of the students to introduce themselves, name, grade, the program you're in, and what you're working on in your program right now.
My name is Noel Mace. I am a junior. I go to welding, and I'm currently working on getting my welding certificate. It's not on.
You didn't need it. You got a good voice.
My name is Avery. I am in 11th grade and I'm in BOCES, and I don't really know what I'm doing after high school yet.
My name is Ryan Baldwin. I'm in heavy equipment, and I'm working on like a 6-cylinder engine that we're taking apart.
My name is Sage Stone, and I'm in new media, and I am a junior, and I don't know what I'm doing yet either.
My name is Drea. I'm a senior. I'm in the New Visions Health Career Exploration Program, and right now we're shadowing a bunch of different health professionals.
My name is Colton. I'm a junior. I'm in the ECCA Business and Entrepreneurship, and we just finished up a marketing plan.
So as you heard, there's a number of programs here and even more that we offer. So I'm going to ask each of you just to talk about why you chose to come to BOCES and why your program is the one that you chose.
Yeah, so I chose BOCES because I thought it was a great way to to earn some college credits. When I'm done, I get a year certificate. So I have a year done of college, and it just sets me ahead of my peers, something that stands out on a college application.
I chose New Visions for the same reasons, and it'll also just prepare me a lot for college. And then I can also shadow a bunch of different professionals and kind of just make sure that that's what I want to do after high school.
I chose new media because I've always kind of been interested in like art and things like that. And I just like the idea of getting like a jump start to college and things like that.
I chose heavy equipment because I'm doing concrete with my dad, and I'm trying to take that over eventually. But heavy equipment, I can get my CDL and learn how to like run big equipment, so we can like get great on job sites. And it would just be fun to like be able to do that as a career as well.
I chose welding because I've always liked working with my hands, and I come from a background of welders, so kind of worked out.
I chose welding because it's kind of just always been something I wanted to do and seemed like a good career choice.
All right, thank you. I'm going to have you explain a little bit about welding and what you're doing in terms of math within welding.
So basically for math and welding, we're just learning how to use stuff like dial calipers, turn decimals into fractions and vice versa. We're going to learn how to read blueprints soon enough. And yeah.
And then Avery, I'm going to have you talk about English a little bit.
So English, we are learning a lot about like resume stuff and like email etiquette stuff, just stuff to set us up in the future.
So all of our approved CTE programs come with a half credit of ELA and math each year that help these students earn credits towards their graduation requirements, since they are out of the building for half a day for 2 years. And then Alessandra, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. And you mentioned job shadowing and going to the hospital. So tell us some of the places you've been and some of the things you've seen while maintaining HIPAA.
So throughout the year, we're going to go to 40 different clinical sites to just shadow a bunch of different people. So far, my favorite one has been the ER at Glens Falls Hospital. And I've just been to a ton of different places. Today, I went to PT and OT, and it's just been incredible to see like so many different sides of healthcare that I didn't even know existed.
All right, and then I'm going to have each of you just explain a little bit about why this was a good choice for you. And if you aren't sure of your future plans quite yet, that's okay, but what you might be leaning towards. We'll work backwards.
Yeah, I think it was a great choice for me because something I really wanted was something to stick out of my college application. And this semester, we're just finishing up, and I took 3 college classes this semester. So I just thought it was a great idea to earn some credits and just get ahead.
The academics are pretty rigorous, which I wanted for my senior year to prepare me for college more. And it's also been great just to see so many different things.
I really enjoy the program and like all the professors and the people in it. And I think that it's like a great choice, but I don't know. Like I'm gonna lean towards graphics in my future.
I think that doing the program gives me a great head start going into the trades field because it just looks great on a resume. I'll be already starting off working with a higher paycheck perhaps just because I know more and I'm more experienced already coming straight out of high school. And I also just enjoy doing it. So
Was it a good choice?
Yeah, it was just a good choice for me. Like I said, I like to work with my hands, and like Ryan said, it's a good, like, it's better off to start now than graduating out of high school.
I think it was also a great choice because I've always wanted to do it and it just is fun for me. And yeah.
Thank you. No, that's perfect. You know, a lot of these career pathways represent the spots in our labor sector we know are hurting and need people. So our mission is to give them the best training we can and lead them straight down that career path of their choice. Are there any questions for the students from the board?
I don't really have a question. I just want to, just an observation. It's just, I'm really pleased for you that with such a wide array of interests that each of you seems to, you know, feel satisfaction with your choice and your path, and that, you know, that you feel like you've got like an edge on, you know, your next step. And I just, it's really nice to hear, and I'm pleased for you. Thanks for speaking.
Yeah, oh, go ahead.
Is it on now? Yeah. Hearing some of you say you're not quite sure what you want to do after, I just want to let you know, like, that's so okay. I actually had a son who went to BOCES through one of the New Vision programs, and he found out that's what he didn't want to do. And it was good because it saved him years, like going to college under a major that he would have not liked. So don't feel bad because even figuring out what you don't want to do is a worthy thing and eventually you'll figure it out. So.
Well, and thank you for being willing to come up and hold the microphone in your hand and present tonight because that can be really nerve-wracking. So I appreciate you guys putting yourself out there and letting us know what you're up to because it's, as board members, we're here because of you. And so when we have our students here, I wasn't joking when I said our beloved students because you're why we're here and you're really important. So thank you for letting us know some of the details of what you're doing. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I got it. Okay. Yep. Perfect. Okay, so that is much better to hear from them than to hear from me. So I'll keep this to about an hour of the slides. John said I have as much time as I need to, but we are really excited. So to have the programs that we have is really dependent on having districts support. BOCES is a cooperative of school districts, and we can't do it without you. And the programs that we offer are very difficult to be able to offer 20+ programs in the districts to give those opportunities to the students. So we've been working for a couple of years now on looking at our facilities and identifying the needs of what our programs and our students, how do we match the programs and the needs of the students to our facilities. So we came up with a vision, and it's called Vision 2027 Future Focused Facilities. And I'll just take you through a few slides and then be happy to answer any questions. And really, as I said, it's critically important for us to have the instructional space, both for our exceptional learners and for our CTE students to be able to, when your students come to us, have the best learning opportunities possible. This is really our blueprint for when we do facilities planning, figuring out what do we currently have, what do we need, where do we go, do we renovate, do we look at, are we building? We currently have 2 centers, the Myers Education Center and the Southern Adirondack Education Center, but we also lease a building in Glens Falls, the Sanford Street Teaching and Learning Center. And most importantly nowadays is making sure that we have safe environments for students and staff. Many of our facilities too have been renovated and retrofitted for the new programs, which isn't always as ideal. So we put together, so actually started in February 2023, working with a committee, a facility subcommittee with our board to look and start identifying what direction we should go in the future. And we've worked with our component districts. We have a facilities committee with superintendents, our board members as well, Tim Hilker and myself, to really start to identify what the current status of our facilities are, and comparing that to what we need. We look at our enrollment on a regular basis. Where do we have wait lists? Are we able to serve all of the students that want to be in our programs? And we will just reach out to our business and industry partners and our staff to really get their feedback and input on the programs. As far as health and safety, we've done, just like districts do, we have our building condition survey that we have to do. We have our regular walkthroughs with our architects and building inspections. And we came over the last year, we had the committee come together to make some recommendations for our region. And so what we learned is for career and tech, we have grown over the years. So we currently have 1,275 students in our 22 CTE programs. There's a split. We're up over 210 students since 2015. We have wait lists in welding, heavy equipment, auto tech, HVAC. Small animal science is only at our Myers Education Center right now. And there's a wait list for that program. And cosmetology is the program that on given years, I think we had almost 100 applications for cosmetology this past year. our current facilities also don't give us the opportunity for expansion. There's definitely a need in the area for civic engineering, green energy, sports science, standalone plumbing and electrical programs to meet some of the trades needs that we're hearing about. And interesting enough, when you look at our enrollment as a region, so this is the CTE enrollment. So the blue is the number of 11th and 12th graders in the region, and that gold color, that's the number of students coming from CTE. So as you can see, we have our percentage of the 11th and 12th graders coming to CTE programs continues to grow, even as the population is kind of shrinking a little bit in the region. So we know we have a need. Our goal for the BOCES programs is to have students come to our programs that's the right fit for it. We don't want every student. We want students that this is the right program for them to come to us. On our exceptional learner side, so we have our two current facilities, Myers and Sayak, and then we also have Sanford Street. Right now, we're serving about 264 students. And if we had, we do have wait lists as well, which means that we're not serving students with needs because we don't have the space to be able to bring them into the program. So new facilities could accommodate up to 328 students. Really, when I talked about retrofitting our buildings and our programs, so some of our exceptional learners programs on the campuses were large shop spaces that were kind of carved up to make different classrooms in them. So some of them are too big, some of them aren't quite big enough. And the renovation side of that it doesn't work out well for the students to have the ideal space. We're looking at creating suites where we have classrooms where students, you have your classroom and you have your support, you have your counselors right near the classrooms rather than having to walk to another end of the building to meet the students when they're in crisis. Centralizing supports, the mental health needs of the students, it's become more challenging. So we have many more of those needs in the programs. So this will allow us to also have additional supports in the program. So we looked at a couple of different options. We looked at renovating our two current facilities. It doesn't solve the problem of our Sanford Street, our elementary building program, which we lease currently from Glens Falls, and they're having some kind of expansion of housing in Glens Falls, so we may not have that building for much longer as well. So we're looking at a single site, which means we'll have 3 buildings at one site off of exit 16, and it would accommodate our elementary exceptional learners, and then our secondary exceptional learners and our CTE building. So the secondary exceptional learners are right there with the building. For many of those students participate half day in our CTE programs and half day in the exceptional learners building. Being right off of exit 16, we've worked with the superintendents over the last year or so. The benefits of that, the savings on transporting to a single site, the districts being able to cooperate and transport together and maybe share some transportation down to the site, the operational efficiencies, scheduling of our related service providers, not having to travel from one site to another site means more time servicing the students in the classes and the programs. So we're really excited about that, this possibility of our future facilities. We have a very aggressive timeline. And the reason why it's aggressive is because to start a building, we have to be able to move in on July 1st. We can't make a move mid-year because we have to move so many things that are happening. So in October, we entered an option to lease. So an option to lease means that we are exploring all of the possibilities and looking at, they're going through the processes to make this all happen. And we're working currently on the design of the facilities of the 3 buildings. Over the next month or so, we'll be looking at site plan approval from the town, SED submission in February, design revisions in May, Final submission to SED in June, building development approval in July, and building permits issued September, construction to start October of 2025. So if we're able to start construction in October of 2025, then we'll be able to meet that timeline for June 2027 substantial completion that we can move into the buildings for fall of 2027 to be able to start that school year in a new facility. And why are we doing this? And it's the same reason why you're doing this as well. This is why we're doing it. For the students. Any questions about our facilities, our vision?
If with the new facility, and you said that you currently have a wait list and it'll probably continue to grow, will the facility be able to continue to grow, staying the same size, be able to accommodate more and more kids should these programs become more and more popular?
Yeah, so, we're projecting ahead and the areas where we have wait lists, we're expanding those programs to be able to fit into the facilities to meet the, hopefully be able to accommodate all of the students that are in the program. In all likelihood, and any given year, you could have a route to come into it, but by having new space and maximizing it and designing it to really what we need it to be right away, we'll definitely be able to accommodate many more students and cut down those wait lists or eliminate them in many programs.
Okay.
Sure.
I mean, and BOCES budget has nothing to do with us really, so I'm just being nosy, but the $96 million number that said like lease over 20 years, does that include the construction cost?
That's everything, the land, the construction. And so it's spread out over 20 years, over 31 districts. And there's BOCES aid on the cost of it. There's also offsets, some grants, and our intention would be to sell the current properties.
That was my next
And
question.
that would lower those, all of that would lower the cost down.
Because BOCES owns the current buildings, so. you
Right.
can't sell them. Okay, that was part of my next question.
Right.
Thank you.
Now, ironically, the districts have to vote to approve us to sell them. But otherwise, we'll be looking to lease them and rent them out.
I'm so grateful to have BOCES and the opportunities you create for our students. I think you said they can find the right fit for them.
Right.
Or not, as Donna pointed out, trying something out and maybe it's not their thing, but either way, you're creating greater opportunities for our students. So thank you so
Great.
much for
Thank
all that
you.
you do.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay.
Any other questions?
And your printed materials are really
Great.
sharp.
Hi, thank you. Mary Beth Mestizo, our public information specialist.
Thank you.
Great. Lynn, do you want to say a few words?
Speaking on behalf of the whole board, it's obvious that without our districts.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
You guys do a great job.
Thank you. Our next agenda item is a presentation on artificial intelligence, and Megan Coker is going to lead the way on that. Thank you, Megan.
Janine's just going to get the presentation back up here. I'm going to do some driving myself here today, which is why I brought our table out. Cute. Okay. So it's hard to go anywhere these days without hearing something about AI or artificial intelligence. So tonight I just wanted to take some time to talk about AI and what it means for Lake George Central School District. So artificial intelligence is the use of computer systems to simulate human mental processes, such as interpreting and generating language, solving problems, recognizing faces, etc. Basically, it's doing tasks that normally require human intelligence. AI is not new. It's been around for quite some time now. And here's some examples that might feel familiar. So you might think about asking Siri a question, or getting a show recommendation from Netflix, or using Waze to get yourself home from a long trip. And it's come quite a long way and has actually developed quicker than predicted. I'm going to use, we'll do a little demonstration here. Oh, good, we're still logged in. So Padlet is a tool that we've used in our classrooms for quite some time. A lot of our tools are building in AI features, and Padlet is one of them. So I'm just going to click here where it says timeline of events. And I've already typed in timeline of artificial intelligence. I'm going to choose an 8th grade reading level and click create. And we're going to see it work as we wait. And as I said, Padlet is a tool we've used often. It's nice that some of these tools that our students are familiar with are pulling in AI features, because it's a safe, easy way for our students to start to understand the power of AI. So we're just, here we go. So you can see it's created a timeline for us. Starting back in 1950 with something called the Turing test. This is basically a game where there's a moderator who's trying to decide whether something was created by a human or created by a computer. And it's still used today to evaluate tools. You may remember IBM's Watson winning Jeopardy against some of the reigning champions. But really, if we scroll to, oh, this one didn't do it. In 2022, I think we might be frozen. Here we go. It was the launch of ChatGPT to the public. And this was when we really started to see momentum growing with AI, especially with generative AI. So some of those AI examples that we gave before is about doing things, where generative AI is about creating things that normally require human intelligence. I'm going to do one more demonstration of a tool called Gemini. Gemini, sorry, I need to grab my question here. Gemini is a large language model. So large language models are, when we think of things like ChatGPT or Claude AI, large language models use a vast set of data and use patterns to predict words. That's what they're doing. It's all a matter of pattern finding. So I'm going to put in a prompt. My prompt says, you are the Director of Technology preparing for a presentation to the Board of Education that introduces the concept of AI in education. Write a brief explanation of how it can be helpful in education. So you can see it very quickly comes up with some information. We don't have that much time. So I'm just going to say shorten. And it will abbreviate that response to just some bullets. And you can see here it talks about personalizing learning, intelligent tutoring, automating tasks for teachers, and data analysis. These are, no matter how many times I've done this prompt, I get those same bullets. And these are items that we're seeing you across the board utilizing AI in education. In addition to those benefits, we're also seeing an increase in the discussion of AI skills in the workforce. So there was a study, it was actually a 2023 study at the University of Pennsylvania, so it's a little bit dated already, that says 80% of US workers will see at least 10% of their job responsibilities affected by AI. 1 in 5 of those workers will see half of their job tasks impacted. The World Economic Forum is also predicting that AI or machine learning jobs will grow by 40%, with over 1 million new jobs expected by 2027. This crazy looking report is also from the World Economic Forum. Annually, they do a future jobs report, and it predicts the core skills needed in the workforce. If we zoom in, we can see that this is the change in the next 5 years. So by 2027, they're predicting that AI and big data skills will be the 3rd highest ranking core skill. So the benefits are wonderful, but we also need to be thoughtful about the potential risks that would come with this. And you can see them listed at the bottom of this slide. We need to be thinking about plagiarism and academic dishonesty, diminished agency and accountability. One of our largest concerns are privacy issues and the collection of data through AI tools, an over-reliance on technology, and then another big concern is the perpetuation of social biases. So we talked about how those large language models use data sets. That data is what's out on the web. So if there are biases that are already out there, then the AI will perpetuate them in their responses. So Teach AI is one of the leading organizations with AI in education. And they talk about 3 stages of integration. And these 3 stages help support the benefits and mitigate those risks. Stage 1 is related to policy writing. Stage 2 is our organizational learning, our professional growth and development. And then stage 3 is really about kind of the continuation of looking for areas of improvement and transformation. We've started this work, and actually the last thing on this slide, they're not linear. These stages overlap and intersect. And we have started this implementation work at Lake George with a focus on the organizational learning. Last year, we had staff meeting presentations. We did an ongoing AI in-service course. And we also have Lighthouse Innovation teachers in each building, Bridget Crossman and Kaylee Seymour, who do ongoing trainings after school. We've also noticed that the work with AI relates to some other initiatives that we have in our instructional technology plan. And it's going to be critical for us to keep AI connected to our work with digital well-being, media literacy, and our integration of computer science and digital fluency standards. Lastly, our next steps. The board is currently and actively working on a district policy. We would like to continue providing opportunities for staff development to increase the staff capacity. We need to engage our staff in best practices to help mitigate against those potential risks and eliminate any harm. We need to build into the curriculum renewal cycles, and we need to, lastly, when prepared and ready, support students with the experimentation with AI. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions? Oh, go ahead.
After school training that Bridget Crossman and
Haley Seymour.
thank you. Is it to address how AI can support them or just for them to learn more about AI and how it works and how to use it with students or?
Yeah, so within all three of those opportunities that we've had so far, there's been a combination of multiple things. It's understanding how AI works. It's important to develop that understanding of how it works, and that concept of it's building patterns. It's not a truth teller. It's not, it's truly just finding patterns. So there's a bit of how it's working, a bit of how it can support you as a staff member, and then we explore the benefits and the risks with teachers as well. We're not at the stage where we're promoting the use with students because our teachers still have to do more learning themselves first.
Thank you.
This was really helpful, Megan. At the New York State School Board Conference in October, this was a really big topic, and we heard a lot about it. And it's nice to understand better how we're utilizing it and thoughtfully implementing it here at Lake George. So this was really helpful. Thank
Good.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Our next agenda item is the elementary update with Mr. Jim Conway, our elementary principal.
All right, so start off just wishing everybody a very happy holiday season. A lot of excitement building, certainly at the elementary level this time of year. In keeping with that, I just want to recognize some of the work that goes on to support our families. And we have a long tradition in Lake George, in both buildings, working together with the entire community, really. It's pretty remarkable what happens, but between the two buildings, the work of many staff members, and I don't want to leave anybody out, but I will certainly highlight a few people. And Fran, if I leave anybody out at the junior senior high, I want you to help me out with that. But in my building, our mental health team, Tori Coddington, Zoe Chodak, Samantha Meyer, work very closely with Carrie Becker at the high school. And I know there are others, but we are supporting 27 families in our school community to make their holidays much better. Behind the scenes, that's work with churches, civic organizations, everyone and anyone that you can imagine, businesses within the community, people making donations, and all of this is organized without really many people knowing this. But I am very thankful for the work that the folks that I mentioned, and then the entire staff, people take on supporting a family in many different ways in both buildings. So I want you to be aware of that. Our entire community is absolutely amazing as far as how they're supporting our students during this time here. Cover it. Who else? Yes. Did you hear that? Okay. Yeah, it's tremendous. And like I said, there's so many organizations that are making donations and supporting however they can. Tomorrow night, in the elementary library, Mrs. Crossman is amazing. She's got another program for us to kick off the winter book fair with an event being called Families First. Families getting in first before the book fair starts, with hot chocolate, gift wrapping for purchased books, that type of thing. So if you're looking for a good book, swing by 3:30 to 5:30 in the LGS library. Winter concert, our music department, Tommy Sokoloff and Mallory Meyer doing amazing work with our kids. Thursday, 7 p.m. in the junior senior high auditorium. Third and fourth grade chorus, fifth and sixth grade band, and fifth and sixth grade chorus will be performing. And then finally, our annual PTSO Winter Craft Fair will be held on Saturday, 14th from 10 to 1 in the LGS gym. It is a longstanding tradition, and our junior senior high kids do an amazing job of volunteering to help support that event and make it work for the PTSO. So that's it. I was brief tonight. We had a lot of presentations. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Jim.
Okay, thanks.
Next item on the agenda is the secondary update with our secondary principal, Mr. Frank Kokosa.
Hi, good evening. I'll be brief as well. I want to let you know that Forum is still continuing its work on the ex officio Student Board of Ed representative. I will tell you that item 3, and I'm looking at Mary Ann. What does an ideal model for student participation look like? What does the student bring to the board? What does the student bring to constituents? That's where we began, and that's where we are spending our most energy and focus right now. I believe that item 1, the selection, and item 2, the number, will be fairly easy. However, the ideal model, and I love the word ideal, is where we're spending our most energy and perhaps struggle. So right now, what we're grappling with is how to incorporate that voice at this end and also on the other end. And I can tell you that there's some very thoughtful folks. Steve Preuss, who is here tonight, and I will be meeting tomorrow to kind of really consolidate some of the feedback that we receive from constituents to really refine our best thoughts about what that ideal model will be. So we're still working on it. The tentative plan is that John and I will have a more comprehensive update at the January board meeting. Perhaps we'll incorporate into my report or your report just to give you a better sense of where we're at with things. And that's what I have.
I'm just curious if that piece, that third piece, is challenging because is it challenging to envision models in general, or is it that each model has like some problematic like logistics? I mean, how would you characterize the challenge?
Probably the latter. Each model has some advantages and disadvantages. So we're trying to harness the best way to elevate student voice at this forum, these meetings, and elevate student voice and opinion back. What's the modality back? While supporting the existing structures in the high school, while being thoughtful that it's a teenager in high school and what obligations and perhaps responsibilities that we're placing on them. We want to do it right. Bonnie shared with John a very thoughtful document that an area school actually outside the area, right, John? Outside the area, which helped refine a little more some thoughts about it. I believe that they've been doing it for over a decade.
Yeah, so as we've talked about, there's a number of schools that have this model implemented. So some resources are starting to become shared out. So just recently, we got one from Messina that was a student ex officio onboarding guide. So it was similar to the board member onboarding guide that the board uses for onboarding their own new board members. So it was a nice resource that we just got that I'll be sharing. So.
Some of the areas that at some point when John and I update the board, that the board will be perhaps looking at as well is the committee level structure and what involvement would be for the student or students at that level. The mentor-mentee type of relationship that we're strongly going to be recommending that they be assigned a board member as a mentor. That's really important. And then what John just said, the onboarding process and what that would look like. We're not getting into the weeds on those three areas. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, thank you for, being thoughtful and taking care around it because, well, obviously we want it to be a meaningful experience for any student who participates. And so I appreciate the time
Great.
that forum's putting into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam.
Well said. That's where my head was at. And thank you for the welcoming Festival of Lights coming in with the snowflakes and all the winter decorations. It was very, very, very fun and gave me a big smile when I walked in the building. So thank you.
So overnight it is suddenly morphed into a competition. So maybe check back next week to see where
Okay.
it's at because it's not even close to being
See where all the
complete.
bling and sparkle is? then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the superintendent report with our superintendent, Mr. John Luthringer.
Yes, thank you, Katie. Just a few items here. I just want to again thank the board and our district and community for supporting the pathways for our students. As you heard tonight, the pathways for students and having different options is really, really important for all of them. And you think of our mission about personalizing opportunities for students, that's really at the core of that. Being able to send and offer programming such as Early College Career Academy or Career and Technical Education or New Visions or P-TECH, these are all important for our students. And for them to be able to be even more prepared for perhaps a career or trades or whatever it might be, you can see the benefit that our BOCES does provide for that. And I know Lynn and Tony spoke about it. Our BOCES, and I've said this before, is really second to none in our region or in the state, in my opinion. And they just do an excellent job. So I want to thank them for coming. And I always think this is an important presentation for people to hear. Secondly, I just made a note as well. There was it's relevant with the presentation that Megan offered too. Was there was on the news on 60 Minutes, there was a presentation on Khan Academy. Khan Academy is a math instructional program. It's been around for a very long time. It's an accredited program. It's a very powerful math program for students that students can access for personalized tutoring. They've just introduced an AI component called Khan Amino, which is actually so there's really a lot of advancements. Kids are going to use it regardless. We know that kids are kids and they're interested. My own son came down 2 nights ago and said, "Dad, he's taking advanced math. It's above my head. There's only so much parents can do to help." So he said, "I'm stuck on this problem." And so he said, I need some help. And we accessed an approved tool and we're able to get some support. So it is something that we want to make sure our teachers and our staff are familiar with. You heard about that tonight, and then really start to make sure that our students understand the implications and how to best use that feature to support them with some parameters. So we're excited about that and the continued work at the district level. Just a couple other items here as well. We'll be welcoming Assemblyman Matt Simpson to the district on Thursday. We're excited to have him. He's coming to visit the school. He'll be touring and spending some time here. He wants to talk with us as well as we're gearing up for the legislative session in January. So we're going to have some discussion about advocacy and certainly things that impact Lake George. Assemblyman Simpson has always been a proponent for schools, especially rural schools. He does live locally, so he's very invested in schools, especially smaller schools such as Lake George. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that on December 1st, we were all patiently waiting for the Rockefeller report that came out. You may remember that the Rockefeller Institute was charged by Governor Hochul to put forth recommendations in regards to the foundation aid formula, which is a very, very complex formula. As we all know, that is how aid is distributed to schools across the state. So that report was released. It's 314 pages. I've read the executive summary and certainly sections that relate predominantly to Lake George and have reviewed a lot of these summaries that have come out from other constituent groups. But the big takeaways for me, and I think we're hearing this across the state, is that this is a really common sense approach to the recommendations. They address certain things that are outdated, such as the census that they're still using from 2000, which is completely outdated. There's recommendations to update that, which can happen quickly. Using clear data points for how poverty is calculated into the formula as well, another outdated figure. and other factors such as how inflation is factored in, special education costs, and English language learner costs as well. So some of those, those high costs to districts. So there's a lot of different things that are favorable in it, and it just depends on how the legislator and the governor look at how to implement that. The part that I think has caused pause for districts, and certainly something that is important for Lake George, is the safe harmless provision. That was a component of this study as well, not the whole thing. And not surprisingly, certainly the safe harmless provision keeps the same amount of aid for for schools that have had decreases in enrollment. So Lake George is a safe harmless school. Almost half the districts in New York State are safe harmless schools. So their recommendation is to phase that out over 3 to 5 years, but put in a due minimum increase that would be consistent for districts. That's the essence of that recommendation. We'll see what happens with that. Recently, just after this, the governor came out and said that she doesn't anticipate any cuts to safe harmless. So again, we're trying to figure out which direction they go in, and we'll certainly find out more in January with the executive proposal comes out. But I think overall, the feeling of that report was positive. There's some really good changes that could impact positively all schools in New York State, and we'll see what happens as we move forward. As part of this, as you all know, I'll be sharing with the Board of Education the regional advocacy priorities that come out every year. Those will be for January, a resolution in January to approve those. I participate on that committee as well, and we'll be gearing up for advocacy to begin in January and February down at the legislative offices. We have some great news. Our capital project, the transportation facility, crossed the last hurdle. It was approved by the State Education Department. It was a very, very long process, as I've shared. We were anticipating that. We have currently, the bid process is open, it's public. We are getting a lot of interest, which is great news, and a lot of local interest, which is something that we've emphasized to our construction managers and our architects, that yes, we have to go through a bid process, but if there are ways that we can look at supporting our local businesses, whether that be contractors, plumbers, electricians, then we will hopefully be able to do that. But we have a lot of interest and certainly a lot of local interest. Bids are due December 19th. We anticipate there is an extension if needed, that we could go a little bit further past the holidays, but we're hopeful that we can open bids up on December 19th. They are sealed bids. We'll be opening them in here at 3:45. So we're excited about that. Just a couple other last items here. We are really excited in January, and I'll talk more about this in January, but we're going to be hosting our first VEX IQ robotics tournament. It's something that we've been talking about for a couple of years since we transitioned the whole district to a consistent robotics program. We have a lot of students that are interested or that participate in the program. And one of the goals out of this was to help grow this regionally. The more and more local tournaments that can be offered means less travel, less cost to districts. Instead of having to go further away to participate in competitions, we're hoping to have more homegrown tournaments. There are many, many schools regionally that are starting to participate, and the tournament that we're hosting strategically a smaller tournament. We're going to have approximately 20 teams. We want it to be successful. Some schools that have been doing this a long time are 50, 75, 100 teams, but we're excited and have been working closely with Mr. Conway and our VEX robotics teachers as well. So we have 20 teams. They're all local. So we have teams from Glens Falls, Hudson Falls, and Queensbury participating in the tournament. So we're hoping that we can return the favor to the community, providing a local tournament, have some fun, have our own kids here, offer that tournament to our families, but also to the community. So we're really excited about that. That is January 25th. So we'll have more to come on that. And lastly, we've got on the agenda, you'll see the shared decision-making plan. We've had a really great process. That's a biannual review, as the board knows. So the collaborative processes, a shared decision-making plan, it's a district plan. It's a required plan per New York State. And we did a district review as a collaborative process back and forth with the Board of Education as well to review that. We did a lot of language cleanup. There were some recommendations certainly from the district level, and it was a collaborative process. The recommendations really provide more clarity, and it's really more in alignment with current district practices. So we've kind of, along with like our district code of conduct and this plan, and a lot of those plans we have to review, we're getting better and better and better every single year, but there's still room to grow in that. And one of the areas that I know we're going to be focusing on as we gear up for the next biennial review process and is really that area and the last piece about assessing the success of the plan. And we know that's an area that we can grow in, and we're working to improve our data collection around the stakeholder beliefs there and their involvement in some of those processes. We have lots of opportunities at the building level, district wellness. There are committees that we have lots of stakeholders at the table all year long. So we think we can start to implement some pretty easy, basic ways to start gathering some data and feedback from our constituents that participate on those committees. So that will be part of certainly the next review process, and we'll be starting that quickly so we can have data for the next review. So we are looking forward to that. So that's on a recommendation for review or for the board to approve tonight. And I also just want to wish everyone a happy holidays as well. We do have an unusual this year for our students. I'm sure they're happy, and I know our teachers and staff are thrilled as well. So 2-week break, which is great. And we hope there's a lot of festive things going on right now. There really is. So it's really wonderful to see people are very cheerful and happy. And each building has lots of great things going on. So we'll be there soon in the next week and a half. And we look forward to hitting the ground running in January. Thank you.
Questions? Thank you, John, very much. The next item on the agenda, we're going into several committee reports. And the first one of those committee reports is Audit and Finance. Mario Fasulo is the chair of that committee, and we'll give that report.
Thanks, Katie. We reviewed the Treasury report for September and October. Some areas to note, we had a school tax receipt between the 2 months of just a little over $20 million. The tax money was deposited into our investment account, which then generated $130,000 in interest. We also received a receipt in the amount of almost $98,000 for the retiree drug subsidy program. The subsidy is a supplemental insurance plan, and it's likely to decrease as it's funded with federal funds. And as a retiree switch to Medicare Advantage plan, the subsidy no longer applies. We went over the claims auditor's report for September and October. There was really nothing there nothing noteworthy there. We also went through the preliminary tax collection reconciliation. The preliminary reconciliation of school taxes was completed, but the final reconciliation remains pending due to ongoing impact of about a dozen SCAR, which is Small Claims Assessment Review, and Article 7, which is a judicial review of property tax hearings and judgments. Depending on the timing of these settlements, the affected taxpayers either will receive an adjusted bill reflecting the updated assessment or a refund after the tax levy and the tax rate are completed. So the original tax levy based on the assessments as of July 1 created a shortfall for us of about $10,500. To address the shortfall, we can utilize funds from the tax certiorari reserve, ensuring the financial impact is managed without disrupting operations. We had a little bit more in that reserve than we wanted to, but we wanted to hang on to it because we have these unknown taxes appeals out there that we need to address when they come through. In preparing for the budget for next year, we did receive historical federal grant information, foundation aid analysis, and a draft of equipment replacement cycle, which I'll talk about in a second. The federal grant allocations are used to offset costs associated with school-age students with disability, preschool students with disabilities, and also to close the achievement gaps and provide a quality education. The federal grants that the district qualifies for is Title I, which provides funds to help low-income students, Title IIA, which supports and improves students' achievements and quality of teachers, Title IV, which is federal financial aid plan that provides grants and scholarships to help pay for college, and then Section 611 and Section 619 grants, which both of them support special ed and services for children. Over the past 5 years, we've seen the fund decrease by about $71,000, and in 24-25 we received a total of $336,000. So we see the allocation decreasing, but obviously we know the costs are not. So we just have to plan accordingly and make adjustments as we go through our budget cycle. John covered all the Rockefeller Institute. We talked about that at the time, not knowing what was happening. And then we looked at the draft equipment replacement cycle that Bonnie and a few other people developed just for long-range financial planning. So we have a structure built in for transportation vehicles, vans, buses that we cycle in and out as their value decreases, but we need a similar plan for equipment, such as in buildings and ground and the cafeteria department. And if you remember last year, we had to do an emergency vote for a piece of equipment in the cafeteria because it wasn't on a plan, and so we had to replace it. Without the plan, we risk significant equipment failures that could disrupt the operations and strain the budget. So building a proactive plan, the departments, it'll help stabilize the budgeting, ensuring equipment is regularly updated and avoid any financial burden of replacing multiple items at once. We intend to budget $200,000 each year, which is already in the budget. So we're just going to cycle through and list what items will be replaced year to year. The goal is to implement a comprehensive equipment replacement 5-6-year plan. So it's a smooth and uninterrupted operations, and it supports long-term operational and financial stability. Any questions?
Thank you, Mario. I sit on the Audit and Finance Committee, and when that equipment replacement cycle was presented, I was really impressed. There's always work being done to keep our budget stable, having less surprises, and that was one example. And it was just really well thought out, and so I really appreciate that. So thank you, Mario, for that excellent report. The next committee report is the Building and Ground Committee, and Janine Bieber is the chair of that committee, and we'll give that report.
All right, thank you. Our last meeting was November 12th. We have had quite a long stretch before that since the last meeting in the spring, so there was quite a bit to cover. Superintendent Luthringer did already discuss, however, the information having to do with our bus garage facility update, which is exciting news. So I'll leave that part out of my report since it was already talked about. So Bonnie has an embedded copy of the presentation from the meeting, which again was very helpful because there was a lot of information that was discussed. So beside the transportation facility, we also talked about projects that had been completed over the past summer and fall. A lot has been going on, everything from installing new equipment in the high school cafeteria, office renovations, athletic field work and scoreboard installation, lighting at the high school, elementary school, playground renovation, and also supporting the completion finally of the HVAC project. And it was noted more than once that really the expertise, the dedication, and the drive of the entire Buildings and Grounds team has made all of this possible. So, in fact, Kevin Parrott reviewed some of the current ongoing day-to-day operational accomplishments and also talked a little bit more about situations where, again, he and the Buildings and Grounds team were able to partner with the town and the village to take care of some situations that had come up, having to do with storm drainage, et cetera. So it's another positive thing. An update too, the district has procured 10 walkie-talkies, 5 at each campus. And that is very important for reliable interaction and communication. This was something too that was recommended during our spring building safety assessment. So that was good that that was able to be taken care of. Budget planning for the 25-26 school year is underway, and Kevin and Bonnie are working together to prioritize a short-term plan as well as long-term financial planning to ensure immediate and future needs are addressed. I alluded to the HVAC project. It has been completed. Well, this phase of the HVAC has been completed. We've, let's see, we replaced 37 univents at the elementary school, 23 univents at the high school. There are still systems that do need to be replaced, but those will be systems that'll have to be looked at in future capital outlay and building projects. Let's see. The 2024, speaking of capital outlay projects, the 2024-25 capital outlay plans are in the final stages of approval at the New York State Department, New York State Education Department. And the job scope of the upcoming capital outlay includes a variety of items to include door replacement hardware, door replacement in a variety of locations, and also greeter vestibule window replacement, and the gymnasium floor refinishing to include the new mascot and logo. Some of the items that were suggested for replacement, especially the doors and the greeter vestibule window, again, were suggested improvements noted in the workplace violence security assessment that was conducted in the spring. Then let's see, I think that was it in terms of the overview beside the bus garage facility. So any questions?
Thank you very much, Janine.
Okay.
Thank you. The next committee report is the Policy Committee report. Mary Ann McKenzie is the chair of that committee, and she'll give that report.
Thank you. So this evening, there are 9 policies moving forward to second read and 9 policies moving forward to first read. Those listed under second read were discussed at last month's board meeting. And also before I even get into first read, just to underline Megan's point from AI, the policy committee has been reviewing an AI policy for Lake George, and I think we can, you'll be expected to see that probably next month to review for yourself. Under first read tonight, the first policy, 3421, Title IX and sex discrimination. This is the only policy listed here tonight that came to us by way of an Erie One BOCES update. This is a required policy, and the updates are in alignment with new regulatory requirements. Specifically, and this is a very, very long policy to read through, but speaking just broadly, the section on definitions has been expanded. The grievance procedures have been revised. Training requirements have been expanded. A single investigator model option is being offered, and those are the main bullet points. But it's a long policy to read through, but those are the bullet points. The rest of the policies the policy committee reviewed per our Lake George policy manual review process. And the first 2 that are listed there are the policy manual forward and philosophy statement, which, you know, we made some pretty substantial suggested revisions in the forward document. You know, essentially, we wanted to articulate the charge of the policy. You know, what are we hoping to achieve with our policy work? There's explanation of, you know, what policy is versus what practices or regulations are, the distinction between that, and what policies can accomplish. So we tried to make it simple and meaningful, the messaging here. In the philosophy statement, what's currently in the manual is really a very lengthy list of district objectives, which through our discussion, you know, we've reflected that's not really our philosophy. And so, you know, we tried to organize it basically on the items that we use as our compass points in the district. So it's inclusive of our mission, vision, and values, our commitment to a student-centered learning environment and shared decision-making collaborative processes, and our partnerships, our commitment to partnership with families. Yeah, so that's those two. And 1320, let's see, the next three policies that I'll list, I think we only had some very minor wordsmithing, nothing substantive, but so that's 1320, nomination and election of board officers and duties of the president and vice president, 1621, agenda of the annual organization meeting, and 1630, legal qualifications of voters at school district meetings. So those just had some very minor one or two, wordsmithing suggestions. The next policy, 3520, extraordinary circumstances. There was one suggested revision to add municipal law to the list of entities that the district defers to in matters of extraordinary circumstances. And 7542, military recruiters, access to students. One revision at the very beginning just to indicate that military recruiters' access to students will be age appropriate access. The last one, 5520, extra classroom activities fund. There was some suggested revision really to enhance the language around clarifying how the security of funds, how funds are secured. And that's it. Any questions?
Thank you, Mary Ann. The next item on our agenda is the first of two public comments. And I will do my monthly reading of our public comment procedures. The Lake George Central School District Board of Education welcomes district residents, parents, and other community, other interested persons to its meetings. Community involvement at board meetings is encouraged so that the board can better understand and represent the views of our constituents. Please be aware that by law, individual student information or particular personnel issues cannot be discussed at public sessions of the board. When you come to the microphone, please tell us your name. Statements are limited to 3 minutes. After you have made your statement, please be seated. The board and district staff take public comment very seriously, and careful notes of questions and concerns will be taken so that they can be addressed as soon as possible after the meeting. The board generally does not respond during the meeting. The first public comment period is for items on the agenda, and the second public comment is for other items. If you're attending the meeting virtually and you have a comment or question, please send an email to boe@lkgeorge.org. Board members and the superintendent, John Luthringer, will be able to view your email after the meeting. I will call individuals up to the microphone in the order of the sign-up sheet. If you did not have an opportunity to sign up, you are still welcome to make a comment. We have the sign-up sheet to help keep us organized and have contact information for follow-up. Thank you in advance for helping to maintain a safe and respectful decorum at our meeting. Now, we did not, for our first public comment period, have anyone sign up for the comment sheet. Is there anybody who didn't have an opportunity to sign up that has an item related to the agenda? Okay. Oh. So for public comment number 2, I have Aaron. Okay. Oh, it is related to agenda item. It's the P-TECH. Yes. Yeah, please come up. Thank you, Sonia. Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Erin Conley. I'm the art teacher here at Lake George High School, along with Allison Lauren. But I'm here to talk about my son, Emmett Conley. I just wanted to take the moment. He was supposed to be here tonight to talk about his P-TECH program. He is trying to finish an English paper that's due this week, and he has a terrible headache. So I wanted to come and just thank you for the opportunity to have him be at Lake George and be a part of the great program that P-TECH offers through SUNY Adirondack. He's going to graduate with close to 30 credits. this year. And I can't thank you enough for letting me allow him to come here as a teacher and have him come with tuition. And he's just really flourished and blossomed here, especially with all the staff, Fran, Steve, all the seniors. That his class is so special, and I can't thank you enough for letting us have Emmett here. So I just wanted to, kind of speak for him and thank the board officially and John and all of you for allowing Emmett to come. I think he's going to be the first student who's been here on tuition from 7th through 12th grade. So I'm very proud of him, and I'm very thankful to the Board of Education, and just wanted to express that tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. He sounds like a busy guy. So
Yes.
thank you for letting us know. Yeah.
Good luck on that English paper.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. So the next item on our agenda is the school business consent agenda. And yes, school business consent agenda.
Yep. As recommended by the superintendent, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District hereby approves the school business consent agenda items A through I. Just in brief summary, item A is a motion to approve the minutes from the last board meeting. Item B is in reference to Committee on Special Education recommendations. Items C and D, claims auditors and treasurer reports reviewed at Audit and Finance. Item E is a motion to acknowledge the receipt of the report of the 2024 tax collections from the town of Lake George and as presented. Item F is a motion to authorize filing of the return tax claims for 2024. Item G is the motion to move to the 2 readings forward as presented. And item H is a motion to approve the Vex Robotics team request to attend the New York State Vex Robotics Championship in Syracuse on the dates presented. And then item I is a motion to declare the December surplus list of property of no value to the district that are obsolete or damaged and beyond repair.
Do you have any questions, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the shared decision-making plan.
As recommended by the superintendent, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District hereby adopts the 2024 through 2026 Lake George Central School District Shared Decision-Making Plan.
So moved.
Any questions, discussion? Thank you for all the collaborative work that went into that and the forward thinking for making it even better next time around. So thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. The next agenda item is, next section is faculty staff recognitions, and we have faculty staff appointment consent agenda.
As recommended by the superintendent, be resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District hereby approves the faculty staff consent appointments, items A through E. Item A is a motion to appoint William Pressler to the permanent position of full-time building maintenance mechanic helper in regards to civil service. Item B is a motion to provisionally appoint Sarah Carmen to the vacant position of administrative assistant as presented. Item C is a motion to amend the 2024-25 substitute list of employees not hired through BOCES. Item D is a motion to amend the 24-25 coaches list and volunteer coaches list. Item E is a motion to amend the 24-25 extracurricular and co-curricular list.
Any questions? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. So we welcome our new folks.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is our second public comment. And we don't have any more signed up. Is there anyone who didn't have the opportunity to sign up that would like to make a public comment? Okay. The next item on our agenda is Board of Education comments and discussion. Anybody have any items this evening? Okay. Our next agenda item is a proposed executive session. And the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District proposes entering into an executive session to discuss the employment history of particular employees, the superintendent's mid-year evaluation, and matters concerning pending litigation. Do we have a
So
motion?
Second.
All,
Go ahead.
all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. How do I say that? The language that, well, we don't intend to, yeah. Okay, yes, so we don't anticipate taking any action during or after executive session. Thank you.
Oh, no.